and I talked about digging deep, figuring some things out. You could talk about the same thing with these guys. So we'll go into it. The past week, the team played 4 games, 2 of them at home, 2 of them on the road, as I mentioned this past episode. This sort of home and away sandwich. Home on the 18th of March, an ugly 6-2 loss to the Buffalo Sabres. Our player of the game forward, Eli Tolvanen, 2 assists, 2 points, 2 shots, and 2 hits. Seattle scored really early into this game. It felt great. I believe it was 24 seconds into the first period, and then the Buffalo onslaught just kind of came in and took over, and Seattle really never was in that game for a while. Frustrating way to end the homestand. They go away for 2 games back-to-back in the desert, March 21st and 22nd against Las Vegas, and then Arizona, March 21st at the Golden Knights. This game was on ESPN, so we got the lovely hockey commentary that they've got. It was interesting. This was a surprise. Both teams wore their Winter Classic jerseys for this one, considering it was the matchup for the Winter Classic this year, not past year, and it's on ESPN. I'm sure they wanted to play that up for TV. It was good for a while. I mean, it was tight. It wasn't necessarily a good hockey game. The Kraken lose this one by a score of 1-3. Really tight till the end. Jaden Schwartz scores late. The Kraken give up a tying goal, and then a go-ahead goal just shortly after, and then the Golden Knights add the empty netter to make this look not as close as it really was. Our player of the game forward, Jaden Schwartz, 1 goal, 1 point, 2 shots, and 2 takeaways in his first game back from injury. The second game of that back-to-back, March 22nd at the Arizona Coyotes, an overtime loss, 1-2. Same sort of situation from the Golden Knights game. This game was tight throughout. It was more of a boring hockey game than the one before it. The first 2 periods were very blech. The third period, the Kraken are able to go ahead. It's defenseman Riker Evans with his first goal in the National Hockey League. He's our player of the game. 1 goal, 1 plus-minus, 3 shots, 1 block shot, and 2 hits for the young defenseman. He recorded a assist in that game against the Golden Knights, so that was nice. Nice little road trip for Riker, that mini road trip of sorts. But the Kraken do give up a tying goal late, and then they go to overtime. Former Seattle Thunderbird Dylan Guenther scores the game winner in overtime on a breakaway after the Kraken had a chance and weren't able to convert it. Arizona flips it the other way, and then we're turning around very quick. The Kraken come back March 24th versus the Montreal Canadiens. They're losing streaks of 7 games. They're playing a Habs team that isn't that great. They're wearing the Winter Classic jerseys one last time. It's a Sunday, the start of a 4-game homestand. Can they win? No. They drop an ugly one by a score of 1-5. And they just look really bad. They give up 4 goals in the first period. Philip Grubauer gets the start. I'd really only blame the 4th goal on him. The 4th goal was soft. The 3 goals before were just ugly examples of defensive play by the Kraken. The first goal was actually tipped somewhat on accident. I believe Jamie Alexiak was trying to clear it, and he got a stick in the way, and it redirected past his goaltender. The second one, Brian Dumoulin went to clear a Montreal player out of the crease and instead just helped screen Grubauer out in front with the Montreal player. The third one, the defenseman on the ice for the Kraken both pinched really high and didn't back check. Same with the forwards. There wasn't really an effort to back check. It looked like they got caught sleeping, and it gave the Canadiens a 2-on-1, which really was more of a breakaway. And then the 4th goal was a 5-hole, and it was pretty soft. The Kraken did get a goal, so they weren't shut out. Jordan Eberle scored relatively quickly into the second period. The Kraken got a power play goal, which should have been a power play goal, just a few minutes later, but it was challenged by Montreal correctly, and it was offsides. And then in the time that was put back on the clock for the challenge, the Kraken gave up a shorthanded goal to Mike Matheson, as with Riker Evans out, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And Vince Dunn continuing to be out. Tomas Tatar was quarterbacking the second unit of the power play, and it just didn't work out. So to preface that, we'll go straight into injury news. That game against Montreal, the first period, Riker Evans took a hit in that first period. He left the game and was questionable to return with a lower body injury. He never did return, and he wasn't at practice this morning, which is not great. The team hasn't made a corresponding move to bring up another defenseman, considering that they be at 5 defensemen right now. So that's not great. Um, so we haven't gotten any news on that. We also haven't gotten really any news on Vince Dunn. We haven't been told anything. He's been no update and just same day-to-day status. But recently, the last 2 days, he's been skating in a red non-contact jersey. That's important because in the skates, since he's been injured, he's been skating in a normal practice jersey. With the teams, he's been mixing in lines. He just hasn't been fully participating in rushes. And now he's to the red non-contact injury. A lot of folks have been saying to shut him down for the year. If they were going to do that, I figure they already would have done it, and he wouldn't be wasting his time right now. So I guess with how that last game went, we should directly talk about the team-related news that happened right after that loss to Montreal. Just a few hours after that loss on Sunday, the team made a move to recall forwards Ryan Winterton and Logan Morrison from AHL affiliate Coachella Valley Firebirds. Winterton, this is going to be his second stint with the Kraken. If Morrison plays on this trip that he's up, it would be his NHL debut. Winterton already debuted this past earlier in the year. I'll take you out of the studio for a minute here to show you our first guest, really, that we've ever had on Circling Seattle Sports on Converge Media to talk a little bit more about the Ryan Winterton and Logan Morrison news, as well as what he saw from Kraken practice this morning as we were recording the show. Introducing my friend from Emerald City Hockey, RJ Escanos. So, I believe it's Escanos, actually, so I apologize, RJ. We'll throw it to him. Make sure that you're following on every platform at Emerald City Hockey to get really great Kraken coverage. RJ has been a friend of mine since the inaugural season. We're so really excited to have him on and talk a little bit about this news for the team.
Hi, everyone. It's RJ from Emerald City Hockey, and I just got back from Kraken practice, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of where the Kraken are at right now, coming off the heels of a long losing streak and a couple intriguing call-ups. So, of course, the Kraken have lost 8 games in a row now, including 7 in a row at home. They were just embarrassed on home ice in their last game against the Montreal Canadiens, and after the game, Coach Hackstall threw down the gauntlet to his players. He did not hold back. He said the team's play has been beyond disappointing and that the group has a choice to make now about whether they're going to play the right way and play for each other or not. So shortly after that, maybe an hour after the game, the team announced they'd called up Ryan Winterton and Logan Morrison from their AHL affiliate in Coachella Valley. So that appeared to be another message to the group that if you don't play well enough, you may get scratched in favor of a younger player. Now, I liked that message at the time. I thought that was the perfect message to send to the team. They kind of needed it. But after a fairly hardworking practice today, there were a lot of in-tight, condensed drills. The guys seemed really engaged. Coach Hackstall actually struck a bit of a different tone. I think the most interesting takeaway from practice was that he said the call-ups weren't so much about sending a message to the team and to the existing players there as they were about the players being called up, Winterton and Morrison, having earned those spots. Now, he actually said the decision was made before last night's results. So apparently this was something that was in the works already, and that's kind of consistent with what the players themselves mentioned after practice as well. So it's kind of left me wondering. I thought this was a great message to send the team, might provide some urgency there. I think bringing up the younger players will help. But now I'm wondering, was there any message really sent at all? Hackstall mentioned that he did not talk to the team after the game last night. And so I wonder, how much pressure is this actually going to put on the guys, or is this just a result of maybe trying to get in a few guys in the bottom 6? So I guess we'll find out tomorrow against the Ducks when we see where Winterton and Morrison kind of slot in. Now, on the lighter side, we did get to talk to Winterton and Morrison, and apparently those two are inseparable. They were roommates in Coachella Valley, and Logan Morrison actually said that it's even more special to get called up with his good buddy, Ryan Winterton. He said, "I don't know if I've ever spent as much time with someone as I have with him this year, and I'm not sick of him yet." So I guess that says a lot about him. We did talk to Winterton afterward, and Winterton says he's not sick of Morrison either. And he hinted the two may play together tomorrow. So look out to see if that chemistry continues at the NHL level. Winterton was saying, he hopes he can find Morrison, and maybe Morrison will find him as well. So that'll be interesting to see if they end up playing on the same line. The The Kraken play their first of 2 straight games against the Ducks tomorrow. So we'll see if they can find that desperation that they really need to turn this thing around. It's a really important time of the season, and I think we're going to learn a lot about this team over the next couple games.
So you look at it here. I mean, we talked about it last week. They're not making the playoffs. That's done. That's gone. That's dead. Squash it. It's over. But you look at it here, and you want to at least finish strong, right? Because there are a few aspects to look at. Whether it's, you want to build momentum going into next year so you can feel better about next year. You can start the year off. You don't have this cloud hanging over you in some way, shape, or form. Or if you look at it on the business aspect of things, with these season ticket packages that the Kraken have, there's the 3 years, the 5 years, that's 4, 5 years, and then the 7 years. And a lot of the 3-year packages are up for those who signed up ahead of the inaugural season. A lot of those folks don't want to come back because they're unhappy with the product on the ice, whether that's this year or the 2 years of the 3 that they've existed. There's that. There's the ticket prices as a whole. And then there's the talk that, when the NBA's media rights deal ends in 2025, the Sonics are going to return, or whatever they name it. I imagine it'd be the Sonics again. Seattle NBA franchise, right? So, when that franchise would return, it arguably, and I don't even know if it's an argument, at least from who I've talked to, it would take attention away from the Kraken, and they'd kind of be, a forgotten child. Sorry if you were a forgotten child. There's that business aspect of things that you need to look at when you come to these decisions. So, you look at this team, a consistent over the first 2 years of this Kraken franchise has been that they play hard. They play hard. Doesn't mean that they play good all the time, but there's that effort. You had some solace in knowing that they were trying, that they were fighting, that they were leaving it on the ice. This current losing streak does not look like that. Maybe early in it, but right now it doesn't. It looks like a group of guys that are just playing hockey, that are collecting a check, and that are waiting to get to their golf course reservations when this season ends in April. And that's just unacceptable. Whether it's those who are paying to come here, guys who could be earning that spot, in Coachella Valley, and you see that move with Winterton and Morrison last night. That's why they're here, to send a message, unless they're guys that are injured. I know, if I read this correctly, that Matty Beniers was not at practice. Let's see. Matty Beniers, Riker Evans, not at practice. Yeah, so Matty could be injured. From what I understand, the moves with Morrison and Winterton were in an emergency capacity. So one could be to fill that out. The other could be a message. We'll see. It's just, you need to finish the year out strong. A lot of folks have been like, oh, they'll win again next season. I highly doubt that within last 11 to 12 games that the team's going to play, that they lose all of them. I mean, that would help get them a better draft pick, sure. I just don't think it's going to happen, considering some of the teams that they play. But, I say that, and they lost to the Habs. They've lost to the Sharks this year, so on and so forth. You got to show some pride, man. You got to at least look like you're trying. You got to, make it worth it for these people who are coming to watch you, who buy the merchandise, all that stuff. You got to show some balls. This is just ridiculous, with how it's looked. It's been unwatchable hockey for a lot of it. So we will move forward here, look over to this upcoming week in Kraken hockey. The team continues a 4-game homestand. The rest of those 3 games of the homestand being played out this week, as the Kraken have a 28-win, 29-loss, 13 overtime loss record, good for 6th in the Pacific Division, sitting at 69 standing points. I'd say nice, but it's just depressing at this point. The Kraken will play the team just below them in the Pacific Division, the Anaheim Ducks, back-to-back, not necessarily back-to-back, 2 consecutive games, March 26th and March 28th. That 26th game against the Ducks, 7 o'clock start. The first 10,000 fans into Climate Pledge Arena will be getting a Jared McCann bobblehead. It's the last of the bobbleheads for the Kraken this year. March 28th versus the Ducks, same night as Mariners opening night, which is unfortunate. I'd love to be at both, but here we are. March 28th is Pride Night for the Kraken. It's the second to last theme night that they'll be celebrating, behind Green Night, which is in April 9th, yes. And then March 30th, to close out the homestand on Saturday, is a 7 o'clock start against the Dallas Stars. So